This is the She Dares to Travel podcast, and I am your host, Raquel Pollock. After spending a decade managing the #1 travel agency in Canada, I am now here to connect you to women that are taking the travel industry by storm, as well as female business professionals that also have a passion for travel, just like me. We are here to inspire, uplift, and motivate you to not only follow, but plan out your dreams, no matter where in the world they may be. And of course, this wouldn't be possible without our sponsor, Staples Studio, where I am currently recording from. Check them out on their website, studio.staples.ca. It truly is a new approach to co-working with community at its heart. There's access to hot desks, meeting and event spaces all across North America. So thank you, Staples Studio, for connecting us and sponsoring this podcast. And thank you for listening. Enjoy, be sure to subscribe and follow along. When it comes to beautiful British Columbia, Vancouver Island is definitely one place to put high on your bucket list. As your island gateway, Nanaimo Airport is conveniently nestled in the Central Island. It's located right between the hubs of the Cowichan Valley and Nanaimo, and you're only moments away from the ocean surf, mountain bike trails, year-round golf, wineries, and majestic mountains, just to name a few. The air terminal building has more than tripled in size over the years thanks to many projects that have taken place and a 20-year expansion plan for the building. And super fun fact, did you know that Nanaimo Airport actually started out as a base for the Royal Canadian Air Force? It was for glider pilot training facilities and wartime emergency airfield. And now more than 80 years later, it's a regional airport that's connecting Vancouver Island to the world. So definitely put Nanaimo Airport on your next destination list when you go to Vancouver Island. So go get outside and explore. Hello, welcome back, all you daredevils. Raquel here, and we have another episode on the She Dares to Travel podcast. And today I am really excited to be speaking to someone that I met recently, Jenn Houtby-Ferguson. She is a sought-after speaker and facilitator. Her skill set is this rare balance of executive level experience in hotels, in nonprofits, in destination marketing, combined with a passion for learning and sharing. Jenn holds a Master's of Arts in Tourism Management from the Royal Roads University and is a doctoral candidate in the Doctor of Social Sciences program at Royal Roads University. Jenn has a focus on emergency preparedness and crisis communication, and she's keen to help in the industry just to be ready to prepare and respond. She is pursuing the doctoral research of the effect of disasters on destination reputation and how risk communications can help mitigate economic impact and support the community recovery. Really excited to have you here today. Your intro is a tongue twister. Thank you.
It is. You know what? Usually I just say, you should tell people that I like to talk about disasters. My friends call me Madam Disaster. I feel like that's a thing. And they also call me 5-star because I love to travel and I'm kind of bougie. So I kind of like it. So you could just lead with that, and I make terrible coffee. So, I mean, yeah, great. Jenn, nice. You have, you're working on a doctorate. That's great, but you can't make coffee or rice. Actually, I also can't make rice to save my life. So
You don't have a rice cooker?
Okay, it doesn't even matter. We could have, this is a whole nother conversation about the rice. I just had this conversation with somebody else and they said, oh my gosh, Jen, just use the rice cooker. I was like, I still burn it. And I'm like a decent cook. I cannot cook rice to save my life. Thankfully, my husband can do it and it's fine.
Perfect. Packaged rice for Christmas present for you. Got it.
Yes,
Duly
check.
noted. Check. Oh, well, thank you for being here and chatting with us. Tell us a bit more about yourself. Have you always been living on the island?
So great question. I grew up in Niagara, Ontario. So as I like to say, the banana belt of Canada, because it is, generally in the summertime, one of the warmest places in Canada. I do like the warmth and it's one of the things I miss. So I lived there for the first 28 years of my life. I moved to the Yukon and I came west by way of the Yukon. So I moved to the Yukon to take a role in destination management, which was with the Yukon Convention Bureau. And my job was to help build a sport tourism program there. They didn't have one previously, to work with our Pan-Northern partners in advance of the 2007 Canada Winter Games. And then I came south to the island. So I spent about 4 years in the north and I've been on the island, I don't know, about 15 years, I guess, and had a variety of roles here. So grew up in Niagara, still love it, holds a very special place in my heart. My whole family is still there. I also absolutely love the north and I encourage people to take a trip north whenever possible, and not just, northern BC, as beautiful as northern BC is, but, all the way north. So coast to coast to coast, you got to explore all the things.
So when you were in the north in Whitehorse area, what was it that you were doing there?
So I was managing the Yukon Convention Bureau. I was the managing director of the Yukon Convention Bureau. So our job was focused on meetings and events. So bringing large sporting events, large conferences, big association meetings to the north. We were really kind of building that program. And then we worked in partnership with Tourism Yukon, who was focused on the leisure side. So we were kind of tag teamed most of the way through, just encouraging people to come to the Yukon and explore the Yukon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so awesome.
I was speaking with a client actually recently that has a lodge in the Yukon. So I think I'm actually going to go out next year to visit. And I'm so excited.
It is so beautiful. And, people are sometimes a little bit afraid to go in the winter, but if you have the opportunity, honestly, to go in February, there's this awesome event. It's called Yukon Sourdough Rendezvous, and it is the celebration of the return of light. So when you go in February, it might be cold or it might not be. You're in Kelowna. So it's, it's cold. You know what winter is
cold
like,
here,
right? Yeah. It's the same. Yeah. It's dry. People say that, they laugh at me when I say that, but it's true. Yeah. It's very dry. And you just, you bundle up and you'll be good to go. Very often spectacular northern lights at that time of year.
I want to see that so
dog
bad.
sled races. Yukon Quest is typically happening at that time. So you could really time it so that you're there for all the fun, and it's like a real festive atmosphere, and it starts to get light at that time of the year. We don't, in Whitehorse, it was never 24 hours of darkness. It was, you'd get about 5 hours of daylight, which truthfully is not that far off of where most of the rest of us are. You go to work in the dark, you come home in the dark. Like,
exactly.
What difference does it make, right? But it's so beautiful. And crystal clear blue skies, big long pink sunsets on the mountains. Gorgeous. Tallest mountains in Canada are in the Yukon. Fun fact.
Cool. Wow.
I'll help you plan your trip.
Yeah. Thank you. This is perfect. I know who I'm calling. I know exactly who I'm calling. That is amazing. It's one of those places in Canada where a lot of people, this is where a lot of our friends south of the border, they start to think, oh, you live in igloos. Oh, you live in cold, which no, we have a lot of seasons, but yeah, the north is something that I do want to experience, especially the Northern Lights. I actually have an app, the Northern Lights app, I think it's called, and it will give me a notification and it'll say, oh, within an hour, you'll have Northern Lights that you might be able to see in Kelowna.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yes.
I should download this app. I'm downloading this
Download
app.
it. I think it's called just Northern Lights. And it's very cool. And I still haven't seen it, but I'm kind of up a little bit in the mountains and there's light pollution, but it does happen. So I'm wanting to see it. It's always been something I wanted to do. So for you with tourism, I mean, tourism obviously has coupled into what you have done and studied throughout your life. Has tourism and travel been something you've always been passionate for?
It's so funny. I feel like I happened into tourism kind of by accident. I feel like this is a common thing. I know lots of folks, they take a serving job and then they, move into other paths with food and beverage or whatever. But I was working at a bank actually in my early 20s. And a person that I played softball with said to me, Jen, I think you'd be great. You should come work at our hotel. We've got this opening for a front desk person. And I was like, I don't know. Okay, whatever. Sure. I'll give it a go. And I, wasn't getting a ton of hours at the bank. So I was like, okay, this seems like a great idea. So I did that and I totally loved it. I had a super awesome manager who's been now a lifelong friend. And very quickly, within about 6 or 8 months, I moved into a sales position. And so I moved into a conference coordinator position and then a food and beverage manager position, a sales manager position. And so my job was really to sell our properties. And we had, at the time that I started, we had 3 hotel properties and a few offsite catering locations. And then it grew to 5 locations. And then we grew to about 9 offsite catering locations. And so my job was to sell those properties, to sell the Niagara region more broadly, and to encourage folks and we planned some really epic events,
I bet.
Celebrity weddings, big, huge events.
Can you say who?
I'm not going to name drop.
Oh.
But I will tell you that epic, right? And same thing with some of those large corporate events. Those were the days of some big corporations that had big budgets, and literally everything I suggested, they were like, yeah, let's do that. Let's charter some yachts. Let's get some helicopters. Let's drop into a winery. Like, it was unbelievable. It was such a cool time, but it meant, for me, what it meant was the opportunity to really immerse myself in my own backyard, right? To really get to know the partners and the stakeholders in my own backyard, to experience, what it was like to fly in a helicopter and what it was like to charter a yacht, and kind of go through those processes and create these really special experiences for people. And I think that that's what I love most. I love the boutique hotel side of things, the sort of the independent property, because you just have that level of flexibility to just build a different kind of relationship with your client. So I really love that.
Oh, that's
so fun.
Incredible.
And here we are, 100 years later, it feels like.
It's so incredible though, because it's true. The more that you immerse yourself into a job, and I've heard this a lot with the women I've spoken with, coming from corporate, high up in corporate, other parts of corporate, and then moving into tourism. And it's like it kind of found you. And you're like, well, wait a minute. Now that I'm in it, you can use your creativity. You can use your passion to really think outside the box. And I'm going to guess it's Drake. It just
Not
came
Drake.
to me. Yeah. Okay.
Great guess, not Drake.
Okay.
Good guess. Good guess.
Thank you. I know he lives close by.
We did a lot of hockey player weddings.
Oh, okay. There you go. Very cool. Yeah, that's really special. And it's very, very interesting. Do you mind saying what hotel chain you worked at?
Yeah. So it was Vintage Hotels. It's now called Vintage Hotels. It was Vintage Inns at the time when I was there. Stunning properties, Niagara on the Lake. Highly recommend if you get the opportunity to go. I do enjoy the spa when I go back to Ontario. So the Pillar and Post, it's spectacular. So it's worth a visit. Absolutely worth a visit.
Do you think that is what sparked your love of more luxury travel and 5-star?
100%. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I would say that I always loved to travel. I was lucky as a kid. We used to spend it, because being in Ontario, we used to go to Florida a lot. And so I had the opportunity, we would go to Florida, we'd go to kind of, other parts of Canada, a lot of time in Ottawa, and some lesser known destinations, like Cleveland or Detroit, because my dad was a stamp dealer. So he's a philatelist. That's a big word you can use in your spare time at a cocktail party. Yes. Yeah. And so he was a teacher by day, and then he would be a stamp dealer at night, and he would, and so we sometimes got to go to these like kind of off the wall places, and it was really fun. And so I loved the like packing my stuff and getting on the plane and getting in the plane and having your snacks for the plane. And I feel like we instill that in our daughter. My daughter is about to be 13 in February, and she loves bougie travel. So any chance that she gets to be like, fun fact. Okay. So I'm going to digress here for a second. My daughter, I'm going to New Zealand with my students at the end of November, and they're going to come and meet me. My husband and my daughter are going to come and meet me in Auckland, and we're going to go to Fiji for a couple of weeks over Christmas. And my daughter had this sudden realization a couple of weeks ago. She said, "Oh my gosh, Mom, I'm going to have to fly with Dad." And I said, "Yes. Ruby, why is that a problem?" "Because we're not going to have status." She said, and I was like, oh my gosh, we've created a monster, because, I have status with Air Canada. I fly a lot. I love Air Canada. I think they do a tremendous job. And, so here's my kid. I won't have access to the lounge, and I won't get an extra bag, and I won't have a bougie seat. And it was hilarious. And I thought, oh boy, maybe you need to sit in economy with Dad for a change. Anyway, so here we are.
Bring her down a notch.
So, I mean, I'm making her sound ungrateful. It's not that at all. It was just kind of this like, oh my gosh, I'm going without you, because typically it's kind of she and I against the world. Sometimes it's the three of us, but very often Ruby and I go back east. So we'll really often go back to see my family. Sometimes my husband comes, sometimes he doesn't, but we do that a lot. And so it was kind of funny. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to go in the all lounge. And I thought, oh my gosh.
I agree though. Like there's something to be said about flying with the same airline, collecting points, getting a status, especially if you travel a lot for work lately. I've been going a lot across Canada, and I just have been picking WestJet. And so I'm just constantly wanting.
So also awesome.
Get my tiers level up. And then last year they actually they kept my silver status. I didn't meet enough, but they said, you know what, it's been a tough couple years. Why don't you just keep it? I thought that was pretty classy. I was like, thanks, WestJet.
I think a few did that. I think a few airlines, and I love that. I mean, I think, and again, no matter who you fly with, like I said I'm Air Canada, but WestJet is fantastic. I have absolutely flown. I actually recently flown Pacific Coastal from Nanaimo to Kelowna, because we have a brand new flight, which is amazing.
Yes.
So I think it's just about, it gives you, so I was in Kelowna a couple of weeks ago, and And then I was in Invermere the week later, and I was coming home, and my flight out of Calgary, they had a problem with the aircraft and they had to switch around the flight. What would have meant was my flight was going to be canceled, but I was able with my status to walk up and get on that aircraft that was going at 7 p.m. It turned out I got home an hour earlier, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have status. So I do think that loyalty pays in some ways.
I think so too. And it's very true. Like once you get a taste of, working at the travel agency, we were able to see where there was a ton of really good prices on flights, on upgrades. I one time got a business class upgrade for like $300 just because they had a promo on that only travel agents kind of knew about because it was only for them. So things like that. And then once you get a taste of it, you're like, oh, I see why people spend the extra money. I see why if this is something that you really want in the future, try it once. But once I warn you, once you try it once,
you're not going to go back.
You're not going to go back because it's just such a comfortable way to fly. And it's funny. My husband showed me a meme the other day, and it's like it's based in like the 50s when people were flying. It's like a cartoon, and then people are getting served like a turkey that's being cut on the aircraft. They're in these big seats, and then there's a bubble saying, "Oh, I wonder, or in 50 years, just think how advanced flying is going to be." And then now we're all in sardines,
right? It's like you can hardly like oh, sorry. I just feel like I'm always bumping the person beside you. To be clear, I don't fly. I typically don't pay for business class. It's an upgrade if I'm going to get it, and it's because of status typically, or I'm using my upgrade credits or whatever. But that's a whole nother conversation. How to leverage your loyalty points. There you
100%. I agree totally. That and loyalty points with the airlines and also with your credit cards.
Agreed.
Right? Yeah, you're right. I like that. Another episode to be continued.
That's another episode.
Yeah, to be continued. So where has travel? I know you're going to Fiji over Christmas, which is incredible. That's going to be so much fun. What other places has travel taken you?
Oh my gosh. I think lots of places. I mean, I'm lucky. I've traveled to every province and territory in Canada except for Nunavut, and only because my flight got canceled and I wasn't able to go, and I was super bummed. So it's on my list. I'm going to get there. I'm going to go to Iqaluit. That's my dream. So we're going to figure that out. Awesome. But most US states as well. And then a few places in Europe, a few places in Asia. I'm also going to Japan in the new year. So this is going to be great. I love Thailand. I love Thailand. I also love the Caribbean. And I've spent a lot of time exploring islands in the Caribbean. I think my most favorite island in the Caribbean is St. Lucia. I also really love Saint Martin, pre-hurricane Saint Martin, which is neat because it's the Dutch side and the French side. And then I love the Caribbean because often, depending on where you are, you can jump off and go to another island, just take a catamaran over or take a ferry over. And I love that. I love that you can kind of explore different places. We got married in Barbados, so I did a destination wedding.
Love it.
Yeah. So we love travel. Hawaii, big island of Hawaii. Hawaii in general. Yeah. They need some love right now.
I know my mom's there actually right now, and she's there for quite a while. It's like her second home kind of thing, but she ended up volunteering for just volunteering at one of the shelters that were there. Yeah. So they're trying, right? They're trying slow and steady for sure. Absolutely. With us getting into the warmer months here, where would you say, like, I know you mentioned St. Lucia's your favorite, and Barbados too?
Absolutely. Yeah. I love Barbados. Yes.
And I've when we were in St. Lucia, we actually flew to Barbados. It's such a quick flight, right? So you can kind of do both. What would you say is your favorite thing to do in St. Lucia?
I loved the market. The spice market was really cool. I loved that. We also did a really neat snorkeling trip in St. Lucia. That was kind of fun, kind of on a catamaran, and it was really chill. So that was nice. The piton, you have to go see the pitons. So usually that's on a catamaran excursion. They're dormant volcanoes, and it's just it's cool. It's just so beautiful. I loved Marigot Bay. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I would say all of it. It's a small island, so it's really easy to kind of explore. But the market probably is a standout for me. That was one of my favorite things.
And was that like a day market that you go to?
Yeah, it was like a market that the city, like in the city, and they had all the different foods. I bought a bunch of spices. Yeah. It was neat. It was really neat. Nice. It smelled amazing in there. Some really neat restaurants, locally run restaurants right nearby. It was great.
Oh, love it. I can't wait to go back to the Caribbean. That's something too. Even my mom loves to travel. And so she had said to me, she's like, well, I want to do a snorkel trip. What island do you recommend? And she's going to Barbados actually for a
Yes,
friend's
good.
wedding. So I was like, so I'm looking at all the islands and I'm like, Mom, why pick one? I'm like, why don't you go on a sailboat or a cruise around to the different islands and you can every day snorkel in a different bay. And her eyes lit up. She's like, oh, that's like the dream. I'm like, well, there you go. Because she just loves snorkeling. But you're right. Everything's so close.
Everything is so close. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say, Saint Martin, I'll tell you, probably my most favorite island, but I went from Saint Martin. Now you can fly there, is
Yes.
Anguilla.
Yes.
Anguilla for the snorkeling and Anguilla for the most spectacular beaches. Like
yes.
icing sugar, powder, sand. It is so gorgeous. And when I was there, it was mostly just huts. There was kind of one big resort, but you literally couldn't fly in. And I've gone back, and of course now you can fly, which is great.
Yeah.
And there are some really stunning properties there, but the beaches are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And same in Saint Martin.
When did you go to Anguilla then, when there wasn't much development?
Probably maybe 15 years ago the first time, 20 years ago the first time. Probably 15.
Yeah, because we were there maybe, I want to say like 5-ish years ago. We did the same thing, Saint Martin, and then we boated over. We ferried
catamaran.
over.
Yeah, we did a catamaran.
Or catamaran, yeah. And it was so funny because when we arrived, it's like you go through their like screening process and they just kind of like, it was the quickest thing I've ever been. It was like the quickest security check I've ever been through. It was just like, hi, you got anything in the bag? No. Okay, welcome to Anguilla. I'm like, that's it? I'm here? Okay.
They didn't even check us.
Oh, really?
Like literally we rolled up to this beach and everybody jumped out, and I didn't even register that there was no security until it was like on the way back, and I was like, whoa, we just went to a different country and they asked us no questions,
They're very happy.
I mean literally it was like the guides were saying I think they pre-cleared us is really what I think that they did.
Oh, yes, that makes sense.
Because we all obviously got off and we all stayed in this kind of same area, and then we all got back on together, and they were making sure, of course, that they were leaving no person behind. But yeah, it was not stringent. That would be the word. You also can go to St. Bart's from St. Martin, which is really? Also like, you want to talk about star spotting, celebrity spotting.
Yes.
That's the place to go, St. Bart's.
Oh, interesting. We're going to have to go back. It's been a while since we've been to the Caribbean, but Anguilla, I agree with you. Hands down the best beaches I've seen anywhere I've been.
Same.
Like almost 40 countries-ish, the best, the clearest water.
Yes, also agree with that. Yes.
Oh, like an underwater GoPro we had, and there's a picture of me swimming, and literally it's like I'm in a pool. Unreal. Highly recommend too. Very, very neat. Now, with all these travels and with what you do now, tell us about what it is that you do now a bit more on a day-to-day, and kind of how you got into that role.
Right now, so I'm a professor. That's sort of my day job, but I study disasters, and I am really interested in, from a tourism perspective, how do we, mitigate against those disasters to the best of our ability? But particularly, we're here in British Columbia. We invite people from all over the world to this beautiful part of Canada. And then something bad happens and we're like, okay, see ya. And we sort of back away, because from a destination marketing perspective, I think for many years, there was this bit of a fear. We always talk about the good stuff. We post these gorgeous pictures of our communities. We post all these amazing, incredible experiences that you can have. And it's like, then we don't want to talk about, what might happen if something bad happens, like a wildfire or a flood, or what to do if that happens, or how to reschedule your trip. And so for me, I'll back up and just say that it started with 9/11. So I was working in Niagara in a hotel in 9/11.
Wow.
And I will never forget that day. I had to walk into a ballroom of 276 people and tell them that 9/11 had happened.
Oh,
and
man.
they were a New York State association. The planner knew what had happened, and she came to my office and she's, bawling. My conference services manager is like, you need to go in and tell them. And I was like, you want me to go in there and tell them what's happened? Oh my gosh. The president was speaking. So you can imagine I'm walking down the aisle and he knows something's going on, because why would this, salesperson from the hotel be interrupting my, my monologue first thing in the morning? And I got up to the front and I said, I am so sorry to interrupt, but I have some news that the planner has asked that I share. And he said, okay, please, Jen, go ahead. And it was a moment I'll never forget. It was this audible gasp and simultaneous panic, because 80% of the people in that room had friends and family in New York City. And it was an association that was New York State based. And so it was awful. And in that moment, I was like, okay, the hospitality person you just kicks in, right? It's like we were bringing in phone lines and we're bringing in televisions and we're trying to charter buses because of course they couldn't go home. And how do we feed them? And, forget the banquet. Let's just put the food out and people can help themselves as they want to. And we put all the phone numbers out that they might need and just really trying to do whatever we could do to kind of minimize the awfulness of the situation. And in that moment, in the days that followed, I had just returned from New York City. My mom actually thought I was still in New York City at that time. Wow. And that was before you sort of left your travel itinerary with your friends and family, right?
Yeah.
And I had just returned and we were making calls to couples that were looking to be married at our property. And every single person that I called, somebody was missing or they both were missing. So we stopped calling because it was horrific. And in that moment, I realized, oh my gosh, we don't have a plan for this. Could we have foreseen that happening? Probably not. But as we moved, then we had SARS shortly thereafter. And I realized the tourism industry just wasn't prepared for this. We just didn't have a backup plan. And in some cases, our business was not diversified enough to sort of insulate against that. So you fast forward now to being in BC and actually in the Yukon. The first year I was in the Yukon, we had a very extensive wildfire season. And it reminded me that we have an obligation. I actually did a tour with two of my colleagues. We drove around the Yukon and reported in to CBC News, which at the time was the major news station, and CKRW, which is the other station that's up there, and said, this is what the real-time experience is like. This is what we're seeing. This is where you can go. This is, it's totally safe here. People should feel confident driving the highway. And we kind of did that kind of reporting, if you will, from community. And fast forward to now where we've had 5 of the last 6 years, we've had, epic fires, we've had flooding, many businesses that were able to survive COVID, then now compounded with a very devastating wildfire season this summer, including some travel restrictions that they're not going to survive going forward. And so how do we plan for that? How do we encourage people when they're traveling to travel responsibly? So I have some tips if you.
Yes, I'd love to hear.
Okay.
I was going to ask you how, so this is perfect.
So, things I think people should consider or remember when we travel internationally. I mean, who doesn't buy travel protection these days? We all do. We all buy trip interruption or travel cancellation insurance. When we're traveling domestically, we should do the same thing. And partly, I think there's two sides to this. One is, in some cases, you might have booked with a big hotel chain, and that's great because often their ability to be more flexible in terms of cancellation and rebooking, or maybe shift your reservation, say from the central Okanagan region to maybe Vancouver or Vancouver Island. Sometimes you've got, kind of that flexibility, or you can just pick new dates and that's totally fine too. And they'll just honor your new reservation. For a boutique operation or an operation like a kayak operator or I was going to call them a sea boat, a houseboat. Oh my gosh.
Similar.
A houseboat operation, that's perishable inventory. So if it's not sold in the summertime, like they don't have hotels are too, but in a different way, they're not going to have the ability to recoup those funds. And they have invested heavily in the front end of the season to prepare those boats to be Transport Canada certified, to have all the safety equipment, to make sure their staff is trained and they're all in place. And then all of a sudden you lose the last, 3, 4, 5 weeks of the season. That's devastating.
Yeah.
So if we have that trip interruption and cancellation protection, it does then allow for the insurance to kick in, as opposed to the operator feeling like they have to make a refund when they might not be in a position to be able to do that. So it is a little bit more of, I'm going to use the words buyer beware. And I mean that in a respectful way, where we need to just be thoughtful about the operators. These are still real people with mortgages to pay and families, and they have employees that they want to keep employed. So we have to be thoughtful about that.
Such great advice. And it is such a good reminder. And from traveling as much as I have internationally versus locally or within Canada, it's very rarely that I've purchased trip interruption cancellation unless I have something really important I'm trying to get to. And if I'm canceled or delayed, I want to be able to buy whatever flight I need to get there and then I know I'm going to get reimbursed. But that is really good good advice too, because I work, in risk management, commercial insurance now, and I work with a lot of remote lodges, fly and fishing lodges, marinas. And the biggest question they have right now is, we're only open from April until September. What happens if the fires are running rampant? The media, of course, is showcasing how bad it is. No one wants to travel here, or maybe even can't travel to get there. And then also, of course, COVID, if that comes back, like what options do we have? And that is such a good reminder that it's your travel, and travel always comes with risks. Right? There's going to be a delay. You got something unexpected. And I actually told my mom this, when she's traveling a lot more recently, I just said, Mom, I'm like, do not panic if something goes wrong on your trip. Money will fix it and insurance will reimburse you if it's something out of your control. So like, keep that in mind. And I think it's a great trip or great tip. Great.
I think we just, and I think that I feel like those operators can't bear the burden of something that is well beyond their control. And as travelers, that's a calculated risk, right? We know when we travel during storm season to the Caribbean, there's a risk of a hurricane. Like, we go knowing this. Right?
Great point.
So if we travel during the summer months, or, in the Okanagan or in the Lower Mainland, when it is the rainy season, we have to expect that we might get snow on the Coquihalla, or and that might delay us, or we, might close for a couple of days. Like, we just have to plan for that. And and the sole burden of those cancellations cannot be borne by a tour operator. They just, or a hotel or a lodge. They just can't be. You said something else, and maybe, and it's just gone out of my brain. But I think, I think that packing your patience is the thing I was going to say.
Oh, I like that.
We need to pack our patience too.
Yeah.
And I think we have to remember, like, these are real people, many cases, we still have airlines that are running with fewer staff than they would probably like to have, whether that's, if you're delayed or interrupted and you're in the airport, maybe there's lots of flights that have been delayed or interrupted. Those folks are doing their best, and it's not their fault that you're grounded. So we have to just remember that, I think. And your point about, money will fix it, insurance will reimburse you. That's exactly the truth. So, use a credit card that has that, you have that level of flexibility.
Exactly. And it's interesting. One of the recent conversations I had with the president of KF Aerospace here, I asked her, I was like, what can you remind us about patience when we're traveling? And she put it so, it's something that we should all remember, but it's hard sometimes when we're excited to go on a trip. We just know we got to get to the airport. We got to sit around and wait, get on the plane, wait, and then we're there. And there's so many moving parts and pieces. It's a domino effect that trickles down that is out of the airline's control, but the airline's easy to blame. So it's reassessing when we travel. And I do feel after 2020, this has been an eye-opener for a lot of people to see the impact, to know, we got to give them some grace because they don't have enough staff. They, they don't have enough aircrafts even. They had to sell a bunch off. So we're slowly getting back there. I remember when 2020 happened and I was at the travel agency, and our president in Australia for the Flight Center, he had made a statement and just said he doesn't foresee travel to get back to pre-2020 levels until at least 2025. And that's even just us slowly getting back there. So
those were the early numbers. Those were the early numbers. And in Canada, we're anticipating a rebound of domestic, or travel to Canada, domestic travel to rebound in British Columbia by the end of 2023 for most operators. So we'll be back to about 90%, which is ahead of what was originally predicted.
Yeah.
There are some markets that are either not coming back or not maybe going to come back very quickly. So you can probably guess what some of those markets are. Asia, particularly China, we don't have approved destination status, and we do have some frosty relations, unfortunately, with China, and that will impact people's ability to come to Canada. Of course, we've got other countries where they're in conflict, or we're, again, some frosty relations, and that impacts the number of people that will choose Canada as a destination. But we're seeing other countries rebound more quickly, like the United States and Mexico. Lots of folks from Mexico like to come to Canada, just like we like to go to the Mayan.
Yeah, exactly. Can't get enough of it. Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point, and something to remember in the tourism industry here in Canada, because the tourism sector is a huge asset to our economy across the whole nation. And that is something I didn't even think of. So it's a good perspective, just that, those frosty relationships is going to impact a lot of the people that used to come to visit Canada versus now. So is there any way or anything you've heard for that changing? Is there anything we can do? Is there anything the industries can do? Or it's just time?
I think it's both. I think it's a little bit of time. I think it's absolutely giving grace to the folks that live here that maybe are originating from those countries. It is being respectful always. We need to be Canadian, and we need to be welcoming, and we need to be thoughtful that it's difficult for folks that might, maybe have permanent residency here, or maybe they're working here and they're coming to support our industry. We get lots of folks that come from many countries around the world and choose Canada to work, and they're contributing to our economy, and they are here to help us, particularly helping the tourism industry. And so I think we have to remember that it might be difficult for them. And I hope over time that's going to evolve. I hope that time and, but we're never going to get away from geopolitical or conflict broadly, whether we're involved directly or kind of at the periphery. It's going to happen. And I think that the same works in reverse. So while we have to be patient and we have to be thoughtful and we have to be respectful, we also need to do that when we go to other countries. And we also really need to heed the warnings that the federal government gives us. So there are some things right now, and I read an article recently, and I'll just share with you about our friends in the LGBTQ plus community. And I read an article recently about the ways that that's impacting business travel to the United States, and that as human resource managers or as senior leadership in larger organizations, or even in organizations, in the travel and tourism industry, where we're going to a trade show that might be happening in the United States, we have to think thoughtfully about who are we sending, and is it safe to send them there? And that really gave me pause. I think about that internationally, but I hadn't considered, I don't necessarily consider the US to be unsafe, but I gave me pause when I thought, wow, am I sending a team member to a place where they might not be comfortable, they might not be welcomed, and they might not be respected, and it could put them in danger? That gave me pause. Yeah. And when I think about some of the large events that we go after, for convention centers or from a tourism perspective, we bid on these very large, whether it's a sporting event or a large conference or convention. And, people are looking to Canada because we are seen as an ally. And I think that gives us a bit of a competitive advantage, but it's a reminder too, that we have to fulfill those values and ensure that people feel safe and are safe, and that we're being inclusive as possible.
Absolutely. You're right. That is a good reminder, because I always thought about that when I was a travel agent sending people outside of Canada, but international, what places would be safe to go and comfortable and welcoming versus not. But you're right. In the States, I never really would have thought about that either, but it's true. Very true. There's a lot going on in tourism right now. That's for sure. There's a lot going on. I know. I love it. And there's so many different layers in tourism. That's what I feel is so unique about it. What, in your opinion, do you think is the most unique or special thing about tourism that you love?
There are so many things. Probably my favorite thing about tourism is the people. I just think that tourism folks are special. And I mean that in the most kind way. It is like a family, and we help each other. Yes, sometimes, we're quote unquote competing for a piece of business. But you know what? If my friends in Saskatchewan win a bid for a big event and we didn't get it, you know what I'm going to do? Send them a note and say, well done. Congratulations. We're so glad it's coming to Canada. That's a good thing. That Canada is being chosen, or that British Columbia is being chosen. If it's not us and it's going to somewhere else, I'm okay with that, because it means people are coming to our province. They're getting to experience what's here. And if they come and they have an incredible time, which I know they will, when they go to see some of our friends around the province, they're going to come back. They're going to say, we had the best time. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. The food was incredible. Check out those mountains. I was on the ocean. I did storm watching. I went to skiing, whatever floats their boat. And they're going to want to come back, and they're going to talk about it positively. That to me is a win. So I think, we support each other. I think it is like a big family, and sometimes we move around. We take that family with us when we go, which is kind of nice. But it's also, the relationships that you make are lifelong relationships, truly.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Well, and even, we met at a conference, and it's one of those things where the more people the more you're immersed in tourism, hearing what's going on, hearing how Canada's helping, how we can get, bring the boom back and everything. It's so encouraging. And you just see that it's just a bunch of creative, like-minded people in the room that are so passionate about travel and just making it better and upping the game and making it, exciting constantly. So that I appreciate always. I really, really do. I do want to ask you, I know you worked, I believe it was sales director at Tigh-na-mara
Yes.
Resort. And now this resort I've not been to. It is on my list.
You need to come.
It's on the island. So where in Vancouver? Thank you. Write that down. Yep. Put that on my travel itinerary you're creating.
Yep, I will do.
Or where is it on the island? And talk about it.
Oh my gosh. It is. Okay, first of all, it's gorgeous. I was there for a number of years. Still very, very close with that team. You will appreciate this, Rochelle. Number one spa in Canada, the largest spa in British Columbia.
Oh, wow.
This incredible 20,000 square foot mineral pool. They're redoing actually their tapas lounge, which is called Treetop Tapas. Literally, you dine in your robe and sandals. So you get a spa treatment, then you go have some tapas. They're endless tapas in this overlooking, literally you're sitting in the treetops. Like it's just unbelievable. God. And incredible spa packages, literally one of my favorite places on the planet. Wow. And I'm going to make recommendations for you. Signature pedicure, signature facial. My two favorite.
Love it.
Those are them. Massages are great. Everything's great, but those are my two faves because you get a scalp massage and a foot massage with your facial. It's incredible. So the resort is set in the trees among 22 acres. It's beside the ocean. You've got the beach right there. It's in Parksville, which has those beautiful tides that go out a really long way. Warmest ocean swimming in Canada. Stunning log style accommodation units. They've renovated all of the ocean view units. Like, I mean, we're talking, it's incredible. I mean, I could tell you all the things. I don't know. Yeah. There's a pool. There's an incredible restaurant. They're doing pizza now. There's a nice lounge. It's, you can walk the beach for miles.
It looks amazing.
Everything.
How many days do you think you need there? Like 3?
365. No, just kidding.
Yeah, good point.
I would say I like, 3 to 4 is like reasonable. It would allow you then to get a little bit of downtime for sure. Spend a couple of days on the beach, spend a day at the spa, have a couple of nice dinners. There are some great other places to go in the Parksville-Qualicum Beach region. Of course, it's really close to Nanaimo. So there's lots to do there as well.
Love it. Well, I will be in Nanaimo next year coming up in the springtime with Pacific Coastal.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. Love it. All right. Pacific you let me know when you're coming. I'll take you to Tigh-na-mara.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. Now
a spa date.
Oh my God. Okay. This is exciting. This is great. We'll report back on all the spa things at Tigh-na-mara. Oh, it's absolutely incredible. I can't wait. I love the island, and there's something special. Like I love living in the Okanagan. I love the lakes. I love the Four Seasons. But then when I go to the island, and I've only been the most in the past year and a bit, and it's the ocean. When you feel that ocean, there's a connection, and it just brings so much peace. So much peace, and the fresh air, the salt air. Like, it's an incredible spot, Vancouver Island. That is for sure. Very true. Sure. Yeah, very true. So with your years in tourism, with all that you have done with creating a disaster management, with understanding what the tourism industry needs, what do you think the best piece of advice you've received from someone is?
Oh, best piece of advice. It's the same advice I give to my students is say yes to everything. So, if you haven't, especially when you're starting out in the tourism industry, or I would say in business in general, if you are just starting out, say yes to those opportunities. If somebody says to you, hey, do you want to come to this event with me? Say yes, go. You never know what doors it might open for you. I think, I was so fortunate to have really incredible mentors. When I worked at Vintage Hotels, CY Lai, who is the owner of Vintage Hotels, she's incredible. And she believed in me and she trusted me. And when I said, she asked, and I had another great mentor, Nancy Bailey Brazo, who was in Niagara as well. And Nancy said, Jen, what do you want to learn? And I said, well, I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to do this. And she was like, okay. And CY said, Jen, we'll support you in whatever you want to do. That's incredible. Wow. So 2 incredible female leaders, number 1.
Yeah.
And then I think, the saying yes is also saying yes to a big move to a different part of the country where you don't know anybody. You don't necessarily like winter. My mom thought I was crazy. And it was one of truly the most incredible experiences of my life, living and working in the Yukon. The people are incredible. The scenery is incredible. The product is incredible. So it was literally the best decision I've ever made. Awesome. And then when we came to the island, it was the same. So, just saying yes to every opportunity, trying something new. And if you don't like it, you can just make a different choice. But it's that opportunity to learn and to grow and to try things on for size.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid.
I love that. That's such good advice. And it's such a good reminder for all of us in every industry. Say yes, look at the opportunities. If it aligns with you, go for it. Because you are so right. You never know who you're going to meet, what doors will open. Even a lot of the connections I've been making on these podcasts, it's all just because someone knows someone, and I went to an event somewhere, they introduced me to someone. So it's constantly putting yourself out there. As uncomfortable as it is, it's very important. Definitely.
Well, we only grow when we take a risk, right? When you look back in your life and you think, what are the things that were the most impactful or what are the most memorable? It's usually because you took a risk. Mm-hmm. It's usually because you sort of stepped outside your comfort zone and thought, okay, let's try this on for size.
It's
so true. It's how we grow.
Yeah, it is how we grow. And the reminder that we're not alone when we do it. There's so much support around. And especially if we're interested, ask someone, you've done this before. I'm thinking of doing it. What's it like? Right? Yeah, absolutely. So true.
And I think we also, I will say, as a person now who's been in industry for 25 years, I think that I feel the obligation and the opportunity to bring people along with me. Right. So I say to my students all the time, what do you want to learn? What do you want to know? What are you interested in? Who can I connect you to? I love connecting them to industry. I love that, or, maybe it's not my area of expertise. That's okay. Let's find somebody who it is their area of expertise and connect you with them. And I feel the opportunity and I think a responsibility to do that for folks that are coming up.
So true. That's how, again, we all grow. This is the synergy. And it's very fulfilling too, right? To see the fruits of your labor or someone else that you've connected with and to hear their stories too. I absolutely love it. I love chatting with you. This has been such a great conversation. Where can people hear more about what you do, find you? Is there a website, social media?
I'm terrible. You can email me. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm still on X because in the emergency management world, we still are using X.
I have no idea what that is.
Formerly known as Twitter.
Oh, see, I never got on the Twitter train.
I know. See, so X, it's an emergency X. I usually say Twitter, and then people correct me that it's X. So there you go. Okay. So you can find me on X. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram. So follow along. Send me a note.
Perfect. What is it? What's your
Jenn
handle? Jenn Houtby. Yep. Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you again. Thank you for your insight. I really hope this is going to inspire someone to either get into tourism or just take a chance, take a risk, and go travel. When it comes to beautiful British Columbia, Vancouver Island is definitely one place to put high on your bucket list. As your island gateway, Nanaimo Airport is conveniently nestled in the Central Island. It's located right between the hubs of the Cowichan Valley and Nanaimo, and you're only moments away from the ocean surf, mountain bike trails, year-round golf, wineries, and majestic mountains, just to name a few. The air terminal building has more than tripled in size over the years thanks to many projects that have taken place and a 20-year expansion plan for the building. And super fun fact, did you know that Nanaimo Airport actually started out as a base for the Royal Canadian Air Force? It was for glider pilot training facilities and wartime emergency airfield. And now more than 80 years later, it's a regional airport that's connecting Vancouver Island to the world. So definitely put Nanaimo Airport on your next destination list when you go to Vancouver Island. So go get outside and explore. If you like this episode, please subscribe, download a few more, and leave a review. I really would love to hear from you, what you enjoyed and what your key takeaways were. And of course, please let me know if there's any aspect of the travel industry you want me to talk about next. You can also search for the hashtag SheDaresToTravelPodcast on Instagram and comment on the episode's post with your questions. I'd love to answer them all for you guys. I hope you enjoy your day, stay so well, and until next time, fly straight.